welcome to Suffragette City Radio. I'm DJ Lippy.
And I'm Sober Maid.
Welcome to Corona.
Yeah, it's all happening, isn't it? What's happened in the past 2 weeks? Has it even been 2 weeks?
2 weeks, like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's all changed, hasn't it? Everybody's in their houses and you've got to stay in your house.
Big time. And this is, we've not done this for a while. I'm back after travelling, and we've not recorded, the two of us, for a long time, and we're recording in our own houses. This is the first time we're not doing it on your bed.
Yeah, no, it's long distance. I can't see you and you sound like a robot. For our listeners at home, some technical difficulties. Apparently it's going to record fine, but for me it's freaking me out a little bit because, yeah.
We'll get through it. We'll all get through Corona.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been travelling and I've met some rad femmes in New Zealand and Australia, which was super cool. And then I came back to the UK on the 12th of March, and then literally 3 or 4 days later, everything started getting cancelled and everything started shutting down.
Yeah, we went out for your birthday, and it felt a bit naughty at the time. We were out clubbing and it was a bit like, should we be doing this? It's fine. And now that might be the last time that I ever see other human beings.
I know. Oh my God, the last time I actually had fun and went out, it was a greasy night in Mojo's, which was fine and fun, but is that the last hurrah that I want? I don't know.
No. Well, we will be able to leave the house again sometime. I mean, it will happen.
Will we though? Will we?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to make the most of it. I go out on my bike all the time, so I'm a cyclist, so it's my little get out of jail free card. Do you know what I mean? I can go anywhere, mate. It's been actually quite fun. It's a bit like, 28 days later when you're cycling around and there's just no cars on the road. So it's actually a bit of a dream for a cyclist, like a proper peg it down the street without worrying about cars and stuff. So doing that, it's all right. Doing some gardening with my mum. She's got an amazing garden, and so now we're gonna grow some vegetables. So when the anarchy descends, we'll be all right. We've got cucumbers, so.
I've literally been thinking that myself, except I'm more like, we could grow basil and chives.
Got some basil down. Got some basil seeds down.
Very good.
Yeah, you can have your boot. Will be well seasoned.
Yep. And we've got frog spawn in our garden as well. And my mother told me to get rid of it, and she doesn't know, but I haven't the heart, because it's literally the only thing that's keeping me going at the moment is monitoring the progress of this frog spawn. I want to see the baby frogs.
Well, frogs are a delicacy in France, aren't they? So
True.
You can eat your friends. All right. Welcome to the world, Swallow.
Yeah.
No, I remember doing that at school, didn't it? You used to go and you used to go and look at the frog spawn, and you'd chart the birth of life.
Yeah.
Got obsessed with getting frog spawn from the canal and bringing it back and trying to make little frog babies, but they never seem to get past the tadpole stage.
Well, we've always had frog spawn in our garden. In my previous house growing up, we had frog spawn in our garden, and some of the kids from school would come on a school trip literally just to our garden to see all the frog spawn. Oh God. But anyway, we're not here to talk about frog spawn. We're here to talk about Corona and kind of feminist analysis of what's going on. So
what am I talking about and what are you talking about? I've done some notes. I just want to make sure that I've done the right notes.
I'm talking about the kind of health side of it, that it's affecting more men than women at the moment, and just kind of women's healthcare in general, and how we're seeing that manifest in the corona crisis. And you are talking a bit more about...
I'm looking at the social aspects of it, how it's impacting society, and what things may occur. So basically just chatting shit about it, really.
No, it's good. I think it should be interesting. So this is very, very, very basic. I'm sure there might be scientists in our 4 listeners that are that'll say, that's not quite true, or that's a simplification. You don't have to tell us if we're simplifying it. But anyway, so it was the new novel coronavirus was first seen in China, in the Wuhan province that we know of. So we're seeing that it is killing more men than women, and this trend was also first seen in China in the first deaths. And at the start there was thinking more that it was because men smoke more.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've seen this trend continue of it being more lethal in men in Italy, Spain, Iran, South Korea, France, and Germany. And I don't think the UK has released any sex disaggregated data, i.e., not releasing specifically the numbers of how many women and how many men have died yet. But it'd be interesting to see if that follows the same trend.
Well, it sounds like this is a genetic element, not necessarily like a social element, because obviously male and female behaviours, lifestyles can be quite different. So I think you can account for some impacts on that way. But like you say, it's it's sex, isn't it? Do you know what it is? Have they found out? Did they know what's causing it to affect men more than women?
Well, they think that it's a mix, actually, as you said, like social behaviour as well. So in Italy, men were 71% of deaths at the time of me finding this data like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And they think that it's behaviour partly because guess what? Men are less likely to wash their hands.
Yeah, I heard something like 89% of men say they don't wash their hands regularly, and it's just I went round to my dad's. I went round to my dad's the other day to check in on him, and I went to wash my hands, and the soap was bone dry, and I'm like, "Are you washing your hands, Dad?" He's like, "Yeah," and I tried to get him to come and show him how to wash. I tried to show him how to wash his hands, and he just looked at me like I was an idiot, and I'm like, "This is important now, Dad. You need to start washing your hands." He didn't.
But I mean, even anecdotally, so when Corona was first kind of getting on people's radar and we first saw the first cases in the UK before everything got shut down and that, anecdotally, I had blokes saying to me how unusual it was for them to see a line of blokes at the sink in the men's trying to wash their hands afterwards. Well, and I'm like, what? That's unusual?
I guess they just give it a jiggle though, don't they? Like, if I had one, I probably wouldn't have to, wash after. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how it all works down there. That's my imagining. Just jiggle it.
But it's but there was like it was like a self-reported study like that you just mentioned that a really high percentage of men admit to not washing their hands. But the thing is that's self-reported, so I think the number might even be a bit higher because people are too embarrassed to say that they don't wash their hands. But yeah, men are less likely to wash their hands, less likely to use soap, and less likely to seek medical care, and more likely to ignore public health.
Yeah, which I thought I can imagine that.
Yeah. But there's also other research that I thought was interesting. So there's been research that has found that men have a lower innate antiviral immune response to a range of infections like hepatitis C and HIV, which I didn't know.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. And hormones do play a part. So estrogen increases the antiviral responses of immune cells, is what they found. Women obviously have a lot more estrogen than men. And there's also been research that's found that many genes that regulate the immune system are actually encoded on the X chromosome. So we have 2 of them, men only have 1. So maybe women just have more genes to potentially choose from. Like if, some genes are faulty, we have more backup genes that can regulate our immune system.
Okay.
So it seems to be a mix of biology, behavior, and lifestyle that might account for higher incidence of mortality in men. But I mean, we won't know until this whole thing is over, until we can do like proper research. But that's just what the initial thinking is. Which it's interesting.
I do think it's interesting because if you think about it, most of the key workers in this who will be coming into very close contact with the disease will be female.
Well, that's exactly what my next point was as well, because it's the women caretaking means that we have more deadly consequences. It's majority of women, carers are women, majority of nurses are women, majority of cleaners are women. Do you want some stats?
I've been doing some stats.
Oh, go on. Yeah,
right, 89% of nurses are female. Overall, the NHS is 77% female. Doctors and paramedics make up 45% female. Home care staff, 75%. Nursing auxiliaries, 84%. So if you're looking at in terms of the healthcare, that will be predominantly coming from women. So it's sort of like a silver lining if the people on the front line have some sort of immunity to it or will be less affected. I wonder what it would be like if the roles were reversed and women were dying at a higher rate. I'd imagine the NHS would be struggling a lot worse than it is at the moment, with staff succumbing to the disease.
At the moment as well, there's another issue that's thrown up with the majority female frontline workers because a lot of the personal protective equipment, the PPE, isn't designed for women. It's designed for men. Males is the
okay.
default. So, like, for example, the small size is a man's small size, which is quite often too big for a lot of women. And so a lot of these women don't have personal protective equipment that fits them properly. There's a great book by Caroline Criado Perez called Invisible Women, and it's about how basically in design, from everything from the seemingly superficial to like the size of a phone to the bigger, like a car, that has more deadly consequences when it's not designed for women. Everything is designed with men as the default. Like the size of your phone is designed to fit in a man's hand, which is bigger. And
Yeah,
quite
that's why I
often,
can't hold it properly. It always falls out of my hand all the time.
yeah, well, taking
Not my
pictures
fault.
one-handed is much more
Yeah.
difficult for women.
Really
Yeah,
hard. I have to take it out of its cover sometimes. I'm
yeah.
like, do it, and I'm like, this selfie's rubbish, isn't it?
But like with them car crashes as well, women are more likely to die in a car crash because all the designs are designed for a male driver, and women drive in a slightly different position because we have a different torso length to leg ratio, etc., a different average height, etc., etc. We have different muscle distribution in our neck and backs. We're more susceptible to whiplash, blah blah blah. But yeah, they're finding that with the PPE as well, that it's not really designed for women in mind.
That's really ridiculous considering the high percentage of women that are actually in it, like the actual key workers, the
Yeah.
nurses and the doctors. I mean, even doctors, I was shocked to learn that 45% are female.
What, you thought it'd be higher or lower?
Well, people always say, "Oh no, doctors." In your head you think of a doctor as a man, don't you? But 45% is quite substantial, and I'd imagine that number is growing as people. Well, I imagine there's more females entering the
Well,
profession
so I
as
went to
time's gone on.
uni. There was a big medical school at my uni, and so like I knew loads of doctors. But basically, for years and years and years, it's been 60% female in the medical school intake.
Yeah, I can
For years and
imagine
years and
that.
years across all medical schools, but they're dropping
Yeah.
out when it gets to childbearing age. They're dropping out because there's still a massive glass ceiling in medicine. So that's why it's still only like 45% are female. But it's women. More women have been training in medicine for quite a few years now and getting into medical school.
Yeah.
So I thought it might still be a bit higher. I'm surprised it's as low as 45%, but I guess it's still a massive problem.
I'd be interested to know which one of them are like junior doctors, who are actually on the coal face. How many of them are registrars? Because you have like SHOs, registrars, and then consultants. And I'd be interested to see the breakdown of sex in terms of the different
Yeah.
seniority of positions, and in general, like the people doing most of the care, most of the work will be the registrars, and the SHOs. You never see a consultant. They'll just be swanning about making like, I don't know, doing what they do.
Oh, I don't know. I think quite a few consultants are scrubbing up at the moment to do it, I think.
Yeah,
But,
I've heard of doctors coming back and like cleaning, like being cleaners and stuff like that, and doctors in other areas are just going on the wards as like a junior doctor just to help out, and like prescriptions and stuff. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's kind of affecting women in like myriad ways, and generally women's health is understudied as well. So one of the things I'm thinking of is when women are being affected by this, when they are dying, when they are seriously ill from corona, if they do have treatments, a lot of drug treatments only do trials on men.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea how a lot of these medicines affect women. I think there is one vaccine trial that is testing on women, I think, for corona, but not all of them are. And that can have deadly consequences, like heart disease medicine is less effective in women, and none of the trials are tested on women. So I think that's that's kind of bad in terms of women's health outcomes.
Yeah, no, well, it's there's too much hormones going on, haven't we? Like, your cycle's always interfering with it, and it's just throwing it off. So they just like, oh, do you know what? You're not even a human. Default man.
Yeah. But it's interesting when we look in different epidemics. So Ebola actually killed more women in the epicenter of its outbreak. So in Liberia, it was 75% of those who died were women, but they think that that's possibly to do with social elements because it was women that were prepping the bodies for these traditional funerals.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. There was
Yeah.
the news. They said you're not allowed to prep the bodies anymore, and it was like quite a cultural thing, a shock. So people weren't listening and just doing it anyway. And then
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes, and Ebola can still be transmitted, via bodily fluids after death and stuff. But yeah, there's been As well, in the SARS outbreak of 2003 to 2004, it found that men had a slightly higher fatality rate. I couldn't find much more research on that. I'm sure there is some out there. But yeah, I just think that that's all. It's quite interesting, you know, how is corona going to affect women in terms of our immediate health and those on the front line? Should we be encouraging all the men to stay at home because they're more susceptible? Should they?
Well, do you know what? They're not washing their hands. They're not washing their hands. We don't need them. Basically, well, you know, it's interesting to see all the key workers, and it breaks down the gender bias, and you know, a lot of the people keeping things ticking over have been female. I don't know. I think if it was the other way around, people would be floating that idea already. People would be saying women should stay at home. If it was the other way around, no way. It would be an idea that some dickhead would be saying on like talk radio or whatever, and we'd all be sitting around going, yeah, maybe it's safer if they don't go outside. Do you know what I mean? Oh no, love. Oh, I've got to go out. Oh, I've got to go foraging. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh no, you just sit there. Like, so you just sit there safe. Do you know what I mean? Guaranteed, it would be raised as like a fun solution.
Yeah.
But I mean, why not? Why not? I mean, the vectors of transmission are one of the most important things. It's not unreasonable. I mean, 70-year-olds have been advised that they need to stay indoors now, haven't they?
That's what I think. We should get all the old people, all the vulnerable people, and all the blokes. They should just stay inside it's for their own good. For their own good.
Well, yeah, I'll start a petition. You'd have no one to drive the buses though. 94% male workforce.
Really, for bus drivers?
Yeah, I've been doing my stats. Waste disposal 76%, farmers 79%. So we do need them for some stuff.
Well, we did
basically
it during the war.
Heavy lifting, opening jars and stuff. Sorry,
we did it during the war.
Yeah, they all went off to war, didn't they? Well,
yeah, we filled all those positions.
We will need IT engineers though, but that is a job that can be done from home. 96% male IT engineers.
Right. See, this is interesting. Yeah, so go on. So as well as the immediate health threat that we're seeing from corona, it's completely disrupted our social fabric in the space of 10 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us what is going on there.
Well, I mean, who knows where it's going to end. I think one thing that I found interesting is the breakdown between the private and the public sphere. I think that it's sort of like in the public and the private sphere. Traditionally, women have been associated with the private sphere, the home, whilst men were in the public sphere, you know, going out to work and into like the real world, basically. But this is sort of like an invention of like Victorian era, the early modern period. This distinction didn't really exist. Interesting, in the pre-industrial revolution, most labour was done in the house. People would have like a farmstead, so they'd work on the farm, their own land together. And if they did any like work, any sort of industrialisation, like all the weavers and stuff, women were weavers in their own homes. So when they opened up the factories and they wanted to get people to leave their homes and go into the factories, it was quite a bit of social engineering that had to be done, because it wasn't natural for people. People didn't want to go out and work in a factory. They wanted to stay in their own house, like you do. And I wonder with this, you know, a lot of people have been told that they need to work from home now, and even like teaching kids at home, like, you know, you don't even send your kids out to school; they just stay in the house. So I wonder if we're going to have a breakdown of the private and the public sphere. And a reimagining of it, because it's been very much one of feminism's main aims was been the right for women to enter into the public sphere, because there has been like a load of measures that's trying to exclude women from the public, you know, going way back, like in the Greek era, you didn't even women weren't really supposed to leave the house, were they? It was the male sphere. So what this breakdown will do for people, I think I think it's a relatively white collar middle class phenomenon, working from home. You can't work from home if you're a bus driver, can you? Or, you know, a shelf stacker. But I think a lot of jobs now will be coming back into the private sphere. You know, why should all these people go off to work? And, you know, cause congestion, traffic problems, health problems. If we can bring down pollution and people can work from their own homes, then, you know, why not?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think it's interesting in terms of disability access as well, because a lot of disabled people have been asking for more flexible work situations where they could work from home more easily. And they've been told, no, you can't, it's not possible. But now, because of this, it has to be made possible for people to work from home, or at least be a bit more flexible.
Yeah, well, I think there'll be limits to what you can do. I mean, I'm a big one for face-to-face. I'm finding this incredibly difficult as recording this. It's not just because you sound like a robot. Like, I think you get a lot from meeting in person, and I'm a bit of a hippie. More like it's all about the energy and stuff like that. But I do think that it will be interesting to see how we adapt and how we can use Zoom. Everyone's mad about Zoom now, aren't they? Zoom meetings. Let's have a Zoom meeting. Like,
I bet the shares for Zoom have gone through the roof. I wish I bought
booming. What happened to Skype, man? I know. But this does bring us back to, it does make me think, if we are going to see a lessening of the public sphere, which actually, to be honest, I think it's been going on since before this. Someone like Naomi Klein. Is it Naomi Klein? Which one's not the arsehole? Yeah. It's Naomi Klein, isn't it? She wrote a book about, basically she's written a lot about how a lot of the public sphere is becoming privatised. A lot of spaces that used to be public are now private. And so are we losing the idea of the public sphere? Is everything going to be private soon? And you just stay in your house? Have you got a permit to be out here, son? No, go back to your house then.
We don't shout on the street corner anymore, do we? We shout on Twitter, but Twitter is governed by private entities.
It's private. It's not public. It's not public space. But this does bring us.
Yeah.
Well, it should be. But I mean, it does bring us back. It's an interesting thing because if we are going to be living more in our houses, then this raises the element of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
So what we have seen during this lockdown is a 75% rise in domestic abuse in places like China, which obviously there's a lot of triggers for domestic abuse occurring at the moment. Lots of stress, loss of power is one of the main triggers for men when sort of these things develop. Basically feel threatened and stressed, take it out on the wife and the children. And it's sad to say, but the women are often most unsafe in their own homes.
Yeah, it's the most dangerous place for a woman to be,
Yeah, so if we are going to be locked indoors a lot more, then that's going to have a massive impact on our power relations. I think when women are at home, it's really bringing home a lot of the labour and unfair labour. I think one thing that, with people working from home and doing now being expected to do a lot of like the homeschooling duties, I think it's going to bring home to women the unequal distribution of domestic labour, shall we say? Do you know what I mean? Like they're working from home and they've got to look after the kids, and the husband's sitting there playing like FIFA or whatever. I think that a lot of people will start to get a bit pissed off with it because it's not okay in the best of times, but when everyone's on top of each other, I think cracks are going to start appearing in terms of like, this just isn't fair. Like, what are you doing? Do some dishes.
Well, I think weren't there like a load of divorce filings in China as well after some lockdown measures were relaxed slightly?
Oh, I can imagine. There'll be a lot of people getting divorced, a lot of people getting babies, and a lot of relationship breakdowns basically.
But on a serious note as well, I think I read that since the lockdown measures have started, it's 9 women that have been killed in domestic violence. No, in the UK.
Yeah, it's really worrying. I think for I'm as stressful as we're all finding it. I think I'm lucky I'm in a safe place and I'm not at risk of violence. There was a boxer, Billy Joe Saunders. Did you see the video?
I did.
He did a video and it was like jokey, like, here's how you knock your wife out. And this dude is like, he's like the middleweight champion of the world, and he's joking about hitting his wife. Like, it's not funny on any level, and not when there's an epidemic of violence and people do look up to you and you're normalising it and making a joke of it, and it's not funny, dickhead. Some woman will have been hit because of what you've just said. It will have happened. Some dickhead sitting there going, oh, and his wife comes up to him. People are thick, do you know what I mean? Like, you can't go around saying stuff like that at a time like this. He should be in jail, man. That's direct incitement. And he's not joking around. You see it on his stupid fucking face. There's not a glimmer of humour in that face, do you know what I mean? He's just a fucking prick. Sorry. It's one of my triggers. It really gets to me. And it's not even that men hitting women. It's like a big fuck off dude like that who's supposed to know better. Do you know what I mean? If you get really tough, you're supposed to have a bit of decency with your fists because you know that you can kill somebody. And I'm not saying it's okay to like punch anyone or like, you know, any bloke can punch a woman. It's not about that. But I think there's something especially bad when it's a boxer.
Yeah, like he knows how to throw a punch, he knows how to do damage, and when he's saying stuff like that, it's a
couple of punches from him, you could kill a woman.
Yeah, so, easy. Yeah.
Blows my head in. So yeah, there's a lot of, you know, problems, and now with everything closing up, they don't actually have spaces in the hostels, which they've been underfunded for years. They've seen massive cuts, obviously, with austerity. And Women's Aid, I think, launched a plea to the government asking them to requisition some hotels so that women have got a place to go when they, you know, need to get out, because a lot of women will be needing to escape. It will have been the thing that's pushed the family over the edge, you know, and whilst it's easy to stay inside, everyone keeps saying this, all you've got to do is sit on your ass, you don't have to go outside, it's not hard. It's like, well, it
is hard for some women,
yeah, you know. And
yeah, and we see an increase in domestic violence around Christmas as well, and it's a lot of the similar factors, that it's stress, high emotional time, people are more indoors because everything is shut down. You don't really go anywhere at Christmas. You can't really go anywhere because everywhere's shut, and it's, you know, it's a lot of the similar reasons, except Christmas period lasts a week, 10 days between Christmas and New Year, and there's still things going on. There's still shops open and stuff like that, and some things are still open. But this is going to go on for months.
Well, they said 3 weeks, and now it's 3 months, and now it's a year, and I'm like, I can't sit in the house for a year, mate. I can, you know, and also, like, you know, people are dealing with all the trauma and stress and uncertainty because, you know, you're worrying, will somebody you know catch it and die? Are you going to die? Is society going to die? Is this like the end of civilization as we know it? Everything's changing. Everyone's stressed out, you know what I mean? And I think I've sort of acclimatized to it a bit better this week. Last week, I think, was a bit harder. But as things go on as well, I think there's a problem with funds, like the self-employed. They're not going to get paid anything now until June. Like most people can't go more than a couple of weeks without getting any money in. So I think there's going to be a lot of social unrest coming out. Just when people start running out of money, and you know the food, there's no food in the shops. You know, people won't be so happy to just sit on their thumbs when, you know, they've, you know, running out of the necessities of life. So
I think the food thing is going to be okay. I think we've seen the worst of the empty shelves, because I think now people aren't panic buying anymore. But I was reading something that it was not necessarily that everyone was panic buying. There's maybe one or two panic buyers, but most people were just increasing their shop by about 10%.
Well, but exactly. Like because you're being told don't only go out for essential things. So when you go shopping, you're trying to buy like a bit more than usual. Like I've not seen anybody hoarding. I think it's just the way that people want to absolve, you know, the capitalism wants to absolve itself of guilt and blame a few bad individuals, a few rotten eggs, when actually it's the system that we're in. It's not actually even an evil or a bad thing. It's just the supply chains and how our shopping patterns have suddenly changed overnight. So they can't obviously keep up with that. But I mean, eventually, like I'm worried about the crops in the field. Like, you know, not going to have any tomatoes soon. Or the Italians have got sick. Like, you know, are they allowed to go out and farm, because that's an essential service? You know, food doesn't grow on trees. Well, no, actually, it does grow on trees. But I mean, like we forget that food grows on trees. Do you know what I mean? Like we're so detached from the food chain and like life in general that we sometimes forget that food isn't magic. Like, it doesn't just go into the shop. Somebody has to produce it. So if we're not going out and producing stuff, then, you know, I think they're trying not to stress us out by saying like, oh no, there'll be loads of food. There's always going to be food. Because if they didn't, then we'd all run out and mad panic buy and get 3 months worth of lentils or whatever.
Yeah, well, but they're looking for people to do some farm work as well. I saw that they are looking for people because you don't have enough farm hands at the
No, I heard
moment.
they needed 500,000 and they were talking about shipping them in from Eastern Europe. And I'm like,
Mm.
mate, we can't be shipping people in. No one's leaving the countries. You're not allowed to leave your house. How are we going
Yeah.
to get, how are we going to get 5 million Poles over or whatever to pick our veg? We need to pick it ourselves.
But I worry that a lot of this stuff is, yeah, again, gonna, even when the measures get relaxed a little bit, I'm worried that this is going to kind of start forcing kind of more traditional gender roles again, because people are like, well, it's just what we need to do in an emergency, and like when some jobs are going to disappear, because they will, not all sectors are going to survive what's happening at the moment. We're going to have those difficult conversations, awkward conversations again, that I think are already happening in the homes in lockdown at the moment, of who's going to keep working, who's going to be the primary caregiver. Shouldn't women just stay at home? Really, you shouldn't really be out. So like the bloke should just go out and the woman should just be looking after the kids, really, because it's only really, you should only go out one at a time, really, shouldn't you? We should be staying in our houses, and I just worry that that's going to happen again.
Well, do you know what? I don't know, because I'm looking at, because I've been thinking about this actually quite a bit. It's like the key workers who keeps the economy going, and actually, it's more than you think when you start to break it down. I've got a little list here. I've got all my stats. So, like, all the care profession, that is majority, 75% of the NHS are female. And that's not going to change because nobody wants to wipe asses for a living.
True.
IT engineers, male. Bus drivers, farmers, waste disposal, police officers. Largely a male workforce. But then you've got, shelf stackers. It's a female, generally a female role.
Teachers,
female role, but we don't need teachers anymore. All the mums now are going to be teaching. But it's just like bad things like veterinary staff. You need vets, you need zookeepers, like you need to keep the tigers fed. So I don't know. I think that there's a lot that we're finding out is a lot of people just, when you actually break it down, what do you need to keep society going? And it's majority. It's do you know what's interesting? Class. It's basically like the working class, isn't it? It's such an important thing. The people who you need to keep it going. I mean, it's
yeah.
It's the workers, isn't it? Shelf stacking, that's like the most denigrated job you can have. And now it's like one of the most secure professions in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I noticed that you didn't say hedge fund investor on that list.
No.
It's almost like they're not the ones that actually keep society going.
Well, I do think it's interesting actually, because it does make you see what roles are important. I think IT engineers are a vital service, and also things like like data analysts.
Yeah.
That's going to be a key role. I know my aunt's she does it in the council, so she needs to like identify all the vulnerable children in the council. So that's like she's got a really important job at the moment. It's looking through the records and being able to pull out who you need to see, and I think that's something that we're going to see a lot of the IT infrastructure, keeping the IT infrastructure going is vital. If that fell
Everyone's
down,
working from home. Yeah,
you could do that from home, can't you? Do you know what I mean?
Well, and if everybody's working from home, we definitely need IT to keep us being able to work from home.
Yeah. But what else have I got? Oh, so the last thing I've got is death of ID politics ?
Okay.
So I do think that we're going to see. I think in a way, Corona's sort of uniting the world, isn't it? Like, I don't think we've had anything like this. Well, nothing like this has ever happened where the entire world has been sent to the moon, basically. We're kind of under martial law, house arrest. So in a funny way, I think this might be quite a unifying event, and we're not fighting an enemy. It's not a war, but it's like it kind of is a war. And so I think
it is unifying though, because we've got like people, complaining about having to isolate in their mansions, and then we've got people in high rises that are getting snitched on by their neighbours because they've dared to go a few blocks away to stretch their legs.
Yeah.
So I take your point that it's unifying in a way, but I also wonder if it's gonna deepen class divides in another way, because people get to isolate. Some people get to isolate in luxury, and some people have to deal with the same old shit that they have to deal with every day. Because
I think it's a good argument to have. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do think it's good that people get a bit more consciousness about the situation and have a bit more, respect for the jobs that they do. Like, nurses need paying more. I'm sure all of the people are just listed, even like bus drivers, coppers, farmers, working class people are the ones out there, aren't they? Actually sustaining the economy. And I think there's a class, like they're telling people you can't travel to go and do exercise. I think that's such a classist position, because it's fine if you live in Surrey or whatever.
And you've got a park round the corner because you live in a nice house that costs a lot because there's a park round the corner.
Exactly. Whereas for me, like I'm Billy Dickard on a bike, so I just go anywhere. But like, I'd have to, if I wanted to go to have my walk in a nice place, I'd have to get in my car and travel to Daisy Nook, and that's out of order. But if I go and start walking down the canal, which by the way, the canal now is just filled with people,
I bet,
that's supposed to be safer. Like, it's not actually safer for the people who are walking around. There's too many people around. Do you know what I mean? Why can't you go somewhere beautiful? Oh, is that because rich people want it all to themselves? Maybe. I don't know. That's what I mean. I think people are going to start getting a bit more like, what the fuck? And I think that will be, again, about identity politics. Identity politics is about valuing your identity as an individual. Like, I'm white, I'm a woman, well, I've got dyslexia. It's not really a disability. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's looking at things that we have that are different to each other. I think maybe we're going to have a bit more class politics coming back. Because, I think death is a great leveler, do you know what I mean? So I think we're all going to go through such a traumatic thing at the end of it all that I don't think people are going to have any sympathy for somebody going on about, like, oh, these are my pronouns, or fat phobia. That's a massive issue, isn't it? That's a social ill we've got to tackle. Like, people will just be like, no, mate, like, are you joking? Like, your dad's just died and you're banging on about that. So I think maybe we'll get a bit more class politics. And do you know what? It's often a debate whether or not feminism works as a sort of identity politics, but I think it's going to be interesting to see the impact that this has on feminism, whether or not a lot of people are going to be like, stop going on about that now, we're in a crisis, how dare you bring up that, like, it's not really relevant, do you know what I mean? Which maybe you could see people sort of saying, we're in a national emergency and you're still banging on about, you're still banging your drum.
Yeah, so I think that would be interesting because it would depend the type of feminism. If it's a type of feminism that's worrying about hosting a pronoun circle, or if it's a type of feminism that's worried about domestic violence, I think that would, not that some of the people who are worried about pronoun circles, I'm sure, care about domestic violence, but it's priorities, isn't it? But also, have you seen that the government did that big U-turn and then did a U-turn again on being able to access abortion pills from home?
Okay, no, I didn't. I've seen it bopping about, but
because that's going to be a big thing. So basically, they said that women could, because he was saying like non-essential operations and stuff like that are going to be postponed whilst the NHS deals with the corona fallout. But then, and it said that abortion pills would be available to take from home, and then the government recanted that advice, or the NHS, whoever published it, recanted it, said it'd been published in error, and that wasn't the case. And it's like, because you can just put off having an abortion until next year. You know what I mean? Like, and then just the other day, or yesterday, or the day before, they came back out with advice and said, yes, you can have the abortion pill from home, providing like you have the consultations and stuff like that, up to 10 weeks, I think. But like it's amazing that women's reproductive rights are just still thought of as like a secondary issue, or doesn't really matter, doesn't really count in what's going on. Like women just we don't count. It's the men that is the default again. Like, but this stuff still affects us because society is structured in a way that does put women secondary to men. And so when we have a big crisis like this, women are just going to get pushed even further down the list of priorities when actually we're half the population. And I'm just sick of having like my issues being considered niche and just like an add-on to whatever's going on.
Well, men is the default human. It's time and time again. I didn't know that about abortions not being available. I'll have to stop having all that sex that I'm having in my house that you're not allowed to. You're not even allowed to leave your house, though, Naomi, so you can't be going on the Tinder, can you?
I know, it's bad. But you said something interesting to me the other day when you were like, we're going to see kind of more policing of women being outside, and it's something that I've noticed a bit more like anecdotally. So in a jobs group that I'm in, I just put that was still available for work, and I put like I can work from home, blah 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 blah. But I said I'm also available for other shoots that might still be going on. So I work in media, and I was also available for other shoots that's still going on, because there are other shoots that are going on, and there's been an increase in public service broadcasting, and that's listed as one of the key things as well, like journalists and public service broadcasters to be able, to keep information flowing and stuff. And this man in this Facebook group was like, do you not think you should be isolating at home like everybody else? This is so selfish and irresponsible. And I was just like, hang on. I put A, that I could do plenty of stuff from home, and B, I was available for any shoots that are still going on, because there are still shoots going on. And it was just, and I noticed, and there was a bunch of other lads who'd posted before me in the group saying the same similar thing, like, this is my CV, still available for blah, 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 blah. And it was a bunch of lads that posted before me, and not one of them had comments like that. And I don't know, maybe it was just a coincidence, but it's just stuff that I'm seeing, that we seem to be quick to attack women a lot more. And I saw it with a lot of the misogyny on the panic buying as well, dismissing women as like all these Janets and Karens buying. And I hate that Karen meme anyway, because I think it's really misogynistic. Like, why can't we make fun of men for a change? I never see any of these memes that are like, oh yeah, Gary or whatever, like, I'm sick of Garys. But
gotta make Gary a thing, haven't we?
Yeah.
Gary. Gav. Yeah, well, I think it'll be interesting. Like it's early days of the lockdown, so we haven't even got to the feral stage yet. But I do think that
yet. You sound disappointed.
I've been waiting for this. I've been practicing my outfit. I've been planning my cult. Not cult, sorry, biker gang. It's not a cult, it's biker gang. Not a biker gang, like a cycle gang. Yeah, cycle gang. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've been planning for this for years, man. Like, and they haven't told you that the corpses are reanimating yet, have they?
But what role are the police going to play in the future as well? Because they're already over policing us. Have you seen like stuff like showing drone footage of people going for walks? Like, it's just insane.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be more self-policing though. This is the thing. There's like Humberside Police, who you may have heard of them. They're the ones who investigated a dude for sending a tweet for hate crimes. They've set up a hotline so that neighbours can dob each other in if you're going for more than 2 walks a day.
That really
so I think there will
me.
be a lot more self-policing. People will be policing others in their community, and this will inevitably mean that all the prejudices of the population will come into the policing. So, as hard as it might be to be a woman, I'm not a black woman, you know what I mean? Like, being a minority in this day and age, like, that you're going to get judged more harshly than anybody else. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, the government have always used crises to push through legislation. Like after the terror attacks, they pushed through all these extra police measures, and all they did was end up like targeting young black lads. They didn't actually stop that much terrorism, with the police laws that they had. Like, the actual things that have helped stop terrorism is the, longitudinal research from the and like tracking from like MI5 and stuff like that. It's not police officers being able to stop, minorities on the street. So, but I honestly, I'm worried as well, because with the new legislation that they pushed through, so we've suspended elections for a year, right?
Yeah.
And then they've pushed through that legislation that the police can arrest you if they suspect you of being a vector, or suspect you've been positive and spreading it about, and that the doctor doesn't have to see your body to sign the death certificate, and they're doing away with coroner's juries. And I'm just like, God, like, so what? Do I just, if I tweet something mean about the government, am I going to get a knock at my door? We suspect you of having corona, and then going to get carted away. I mean, mum can never see me body, and the doctor never sees me body. And then the police just come and say, oh, I'm sorry, your daughter, even though she's amazing and wonderful and has the best feminist podcast ever, she died of corona. So, and you can't see the body, I'm sorry. Like, is that what's going to happen?
Well,
and then we're all informing on each other. Like, if I see a neighbour breaking the rules, whatever the rules are, because there seems to be a lot of confusion as well, but if I see a neighbour breaking the rules, I'm not going to call the coppers, because I'm not going to participate in a police state. But I'll just do a bit of old-fashioned public shaming, you know what I mean? I'll tell everyone on the street or something, or like print off posters. Like, I'll do the punishment will be cruel and unusual, but I'm not going to call the coppers.
If somebody was having a massive house party, I would call the police, I think. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's against the rules. But it's brought out a really fucking mean totalitarian streak to people. I'll tell you what, I shouldn't do this, but I've been on the Mumsnet, and they've got a little section of the Mumsnet called coronavirus, and oh my fucking God, literally it's just like 10 little everybody's Hitler. Somebody posted out, like, I saw the post yesterday, somebody posted out, oh, I'm a bit worried about my loss of rights, and I'm scared about losing my human rights, and I understand that we've all got to do it, and I am doing it, but I'm just a bit scared about my loss of all these rights, and everyone's like,
and the overreach,
you are killing us! How dare you? It's not hard to sit on your ass. That's all you've got to do, and it's people like you that killed my nana. And it's like, mate, people, like, it's even like voicing any concerns is seen as, I don't know, like, it's mad how quickly people fall into line and start policing others, and not asking any questions, and actually attacking people who dare to ask reasonable questions, which it is reasonable to ask with all these powers being guaranteed to the government. I understand that it's a national emergency, but we need to make sure that we get our rights back. Do you know what I mean? And everyone acting like, of course we'll get it back, you idiot. And it's like, you're the actual idiot, mate. Have you never read a history book? Do you not know how this thing works? Do you not understand how the world works? Have you not been paying attention for the last 30 years, like the war on terror? Do you not think it's mad that the government now can look on all of your social media? Anybody's in the country could just pick them and go like, all right, let's have a look. What have you been saying? Let me have a look at your entire life. Like, that's never happened before in the history of, like, humans. So much power, and it's like, we're going to give them some more. Okay, this wonderful state that's just been sorry, a bit of a rant there, but
no, but it is worrying. And the Chinese government had like tracks on telephones and stuff like that, but I mean, the Chinese government track what all their citizens do anyway. But yeah, I think it's possible to take this virus seriously and be worried about the strain on the NHS and things like that, but also simultaneously be worried about the complete overreach of the state in the terms of the police and the government laws. And like, it's possible to be worried about both those things, you know what I mean? And I suppose got to try and find a balance somewhere, but I don't know where that balance is, and I don't think the government knows where that balance is, and the police certainly don't know where that balance is.
Well, do you know what? It's funnily enough, like, Boris gets a lot of slack, and Boris is a bit of a prick, but in a funny kind of a way, I'm realising that the libertarians on the right, he's a libertarian who believes in, individuals' right to liberty and stuff. And to be honest, I feel like he's a bit more of a safe pair of hands than somebody like Corbyn. Do you know what I mean? I'd fear more a Labour government getting powers than I would a Tory government getting all these powers, because I think you'd get them back easier off the Tories than you would off Labour, because I think there's a stronger libertarian streak in the right wing of politics than there is in the left wing of politics, and increasingly more so nowadays. I think you're seeing this really authoritarian streak in the left. And can you imagine? Oh God, it doesn't bear thinking about seeing the sanctimoniousness of a lot of Labour politicians. This I can do no wrong. I think it would be a really, really, really worrying mixture.
I mean, I take your point that there is sanctimonious totalitarianism in the left, but I don't know if I agree that we'd get it easier back off the Tories and Labour. But I still don't think we'd get it easier back off Labour, because it was Tony Blair that pushed all that other anti-terror legislation through. But I just don't think we get it back easier off anybody, to be honest. I think the right and the left will both have reasons for wanting to surveil their citizens for left-wing and right-wing reasons. Like, I'm subscribing more and more to the horseshoe theory here, that you go far enough one way, it's pretty much touching base with the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I think that the left has lost touch with its libertarian roots, because there's a libertarian side to the left, which is sort of gone out of favour at the moment, and the libertarian side on the right is booming strong. Like, and as much as you might disagree with neoliberal economic policies, socially they're quite good in terms of social, like the social aspects. They're a lot more liberal than you might give them credit for, and it's just because they believe in the individual's right to liberty. And I think that while we're getting our rights taken away, it's nice to think that people might give them back to us. Which sad to be almost like begging for your rights back, but I genuinely trust the Tories more with my rights than I do Labour. But that's
okay,
totally different podcast topic, that, I suppose. But,
interesting. Yeah. I think I probably disagree, so that would make an interesting podcast topic. We'll have to do that. Cool. I think we've probably run out of time now. But yeah, if you have any further reading, do let us know. Usually this is the part of the podcast where we tell you what's coming up, but we have nothing coming up because we're in lockdown. We're going to try and put more content out there and stuff.
We've got loads and loads of podcasts that we recorded. We've got loads of interviews, and we're both being really slack, and we need to edit them, don't we, Naomi?
Yeah, you're saying we because you know that I edit them. I need to edit them.
The thing is, I've got Audacity. I can figure out, this is the perfect time to learn a new skill, isn't it? So you can do a Zoom and you can Zoom me and train me how to do it if you like, Naomi. That'll be fun, won't it? Get on this Zoom
after I've bought my shares in Zoom. But I will get on that as well. Also, I mean, I literally only came back to the country after backpacking like 2 weeks ago. It was less than 3 weeks ago that I came back, which just seems like it was months ago. You know,
it's like
how
a
long
lifetime
is a
away,
month
isn't it? When people used to go to places.
Yeah. But we usually do our little feminist top trump cards as well and read them out, but we don't have them either. So we're just going to say, stay safe, stay indoors.
Stay inside.
Stay inside. There are some numbers that you can call if you are struggling as well. You can call Samaritans, and you can call Women's Aid. You can call, I think the Freedom Programme have resources as well. But yeah, just try and stay safe and wash your hands, especially any men that are listening. Wash your hands.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Wash your hands. Podcast. Just do it every now and again. If your hands aren't like destroyed at the moment, then you're dirty, dirty bastard. So I'll be checking for the bleeds.
All right, till next time. Hopefully, if we record another one, hopefully we'll be able to do it face to face. But yeah, until next time.
All right, in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.